recovery summer. Can you believe recovery fall is here already? You know, recovery holidays will be here. They seem to come earlier and earlier every year. Is it just me, or every time you look up on TV, does it seem like Barack Obama is playing golf?
Four.
I mean, he's trying to get his handicap as low as his approval ratings. Change since Obama has become president is that overnight the media went from being the people's watchdogs to the government's guard dogs. That's with the exception of Keith Olbermann and Chris Matthews, who have become the government's lapdogs. I'm not sure what kind of dog Rachel Maddow is, but Time magazine got the ball rolling by comparing Obama to Jesus Christ. So I lost a bet right there. Liberals do know who Jesus is. Of course, as the leader of 12 apostles, even Jesus had more executive experience than Obama did. Obama had the mainstream media, Oprah, the European Union on his side. In fact, in a poll shortly before the election, Germans being polled, 80% said they wanted Obama to win the election. And you know how infallible the Germans are at picking great leaders. It's hard to believe now, but when he was running for president, Obama presented himself as a moderate Democrat. And to be fair, in Kenya, he is a moderate. It was no drama. Obama, just a young, attractive 14-year-old who had no positions he could be nailed on. And that was the problem with all the other Democratic presidential nominees. Dukakis had Willie Horton, John Kerry had throwing the medals over, Bill Clinton, well, he had Hillary Clinton. So they needed someone who had just graduated from law school. Then Obama got into office and passed a $1 trillion stimulus bill that mostly stimulated the government. He staged a government takeover of most of the auto and banking industries and staged a total government takeover of the healthcare industry. Since national healthcare has passed, there has never not been a majority of Americans favoring repeal. Most recent poll, about 60% want repeal. It's never fallen below 52%. And the remaining 40% right now who support national health care say they support it only if it will require all Democrats to get their heads examined. Under Obamacare, you'll be required by law to carry health insurance. And if you don't, the government will fine you thousands of dollars. If you don't pay the fines, the government will put you in jail. I think this is what they call the public option. Obama's argument is that only if health insurance is mandatory will the price come down. It's like the guy's never ordered food in a hotel room before. When you have no choice, does the price go up or down? 90% of the problems with healthcare in this country could be solved just by lifting government regulations on healthcare. But 50 years ago, Democrats decided healthcare was so important they couldn't risk leaving it to a risky system like the free market. No, don't trust the system that allows even poor people to have cell phones, flat screen TVs, and designer eyeglasses in an hour or less. Do not trust that. We want to go to the DMV model. So in its infinite wisdom, the government made it illegal to sell insurance across state lines. They can't keep Mexicans out of Laredo, but they can keep an Indiana State Farm agent out of Ohio. Politicians in the states to start appealing to various medical lobbies by making this or that medical service mandatory. So now you can't buy health insurance in most states unless you're also insuring for the possibility that you might need Viagra, a gambling addiction, marital counseling, restless leg syndrome. By now, the government has so screwed up the market for health insurance, it's impossible to buy the kind of health insurance any normal person would want to buy. The whole idea of insurance is to insure against a catastrophe. It's if your house burns down, you get in an accident, you catch a dread disease, sudden marriage to a Kardashian doll. But as usual, the Democrat solution to problems created by the government is more government. They create the problem. Let's do more of that. It's like trying to sober up by having another drink. So now, in fact, our entire healthcare system will be run by the same people running the Department of Motor Vehicles. You know those long, long lines in the Department of Motor Vehicles? Okay, now imagine you're standing in one of those lines, but you're wearing a hospital gown that's open and back. That's Obamacare. On immigration, the president's plan is to find the states that are enforcing the immigration laws and sue them until they stop. Which, to give credit where credit is due, that's a change. No one's thought of fixing immigration like that before. I love the argument that illegal immigrants need a path to legalization. We have a path. It's called legal immigration. On foreign policy, Obama has affected change by making the French look más macho than the United States. Throughout the campaign, Obama delighted his liberal base by saying, Afghanistan, that's the good war. That's the war of necessity. Iraq, that's the war of choice. And I ask you, was Michelle Obama's recent trip to Spain a trip of necessity or a trip of choice? In fact, neither Iraq nor Afghanistan attacked us on 9/11. No country attacked us. So this is a parlor game that liberals play when national security is at stake to say, oh, Iraq didn't hit us on 9/11. Yeah, neither did Afghanistan. Both countries were harboring the people associated with those who attacked us on 9/11 and who hope to attack us again. So either both wars were wars of necessity or both wars were wars of choice. And in point of fact, all wars are wars of choice. Off the top of my head, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, both World Wars, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, the Afghanistan War, and the Iraq War. Okay, maybe the war on childhood obesity is a war of necessity, but that's But the modern Democratic Party chooses to fight no wars. They've been fighting for the right not to fight for as long as I can remember. But liberals couldn't say they were against going to Afghanistan immediately after the 9/11 attack, or Americans would have boiled them in oil. And so they pretended to support that war, except a few Democrats. There were a few Democrats who voted against the war in Afghanistan, and of course Michael Moore was against it. That's great, spokesman for the Democratic Party. Look, he sat next to Jimmy Carter in the Democratic National Convention. If they're going to do that, I'm going to cite him as a representative of that party. So they pretended to support Afghanistan and then spent the next 7.5 years trying to come up with a distinction between Afghanistan and Iraq. Perhaps for their next trick, the liberals can explain to us why fighting Hitler, who had never attacked the United States and had no plans to do so, was a necessity in the way that fighting Saddam Hussein wasn't. Obama's distinction was this: Nazi ideology sought to subjugate, humiliate, and exterminate. It perpetrated murder on a massive scale. What, and Saddam was just moody?